So right there, using the same crazy method, we're going to generate a model for a controller for us. So we just do raw PHP make, we say controller, and then remember our controller name must be camel cased. That is, each word must start with a capital letter, and each word is joined together, and then it must be plural, and it must end with a controller. Okay, so we're just gonna say states controller. Remember, it must be named like this, states controller. We just hit enter and we wait. So your controller has been created in, it's telling us app controller, states controller. So if we just check our controller folder in app, we have controllers folder. This is controllers folder, and we will see states. If you click on state, you see that it has created states for you, but then it's a dummy model, so it's using books controller. Okay, so what we're gonna do is to make sure that we copy all the book, all the occurrences of the small letter book. So first of all, we just change this to states, and then we never ever need user. Okay, users have states. Okay, then what we're gonna do is to make sure that everywhere there is book, just copy book with this little colon here. We copy it. So we have to make sure that we do it very systematically, otherwise you mess up the whole file. What we're trying to do is to convert this to a states file manually. So we have, so every time you see book, change it to states. Alright, singular, and with these two colons. So I'll click this icon here. This is replace all, depending on the editor you're using. To pull this up, I use Control from plus H. I just did Control H in my keyboard, and that's how I pull this guy up. So do it in your editor and you pull this guy up. So I click this, which is replace all. It replaces everything in this file. So every time there's book, then there's state. Okay, so next thing we're going to do is to replace all occurrences of this variable. So we're just going to take the singular of book with a variable. We're just going to say every time there's a variable book, so change it to a variable state. Okay, so we'll just hit this, and it changes it for us. So every time wherever we used to have books, right now we're having states there. So this pretty much solves every problem for us, except here what we're trying to do is, what is happening here by default is that it's finding all states where this user is that. Okay, where this user ID is the current user that's passed in. As you can see, we don't need it. We don't have a user ID column on our state, but then most of the models you're creating have it, so you can leave it for. But in this case, we don't need it, so we just delete it, and then we remove this little one here. So the state index simply selects the list of all states for us. All right, and that's pretty much solves our problem. So every other place looks clean and neat. All right. So the next thing we're going to do is to make sure that this condition is correct. So this is going to be and. What this basically does is, if only the user that created the states can edit it. So far we don't have any user creating states. What we're going to do is to make sure that only admin can edit a state. So we're just going to make sure that if your role ID is not less than 2, if your role ID is greater than 2, what will happen is you'll be redirected away, which means you're not an admin and you're not a moderator. Alright, only people that have role ID of 1 and 2 can edit. So once your role ID is above this, it will redirect you away. So that having been done, we want to make sure that nobody can delete states except the admin. So we'll copy what we have here, scroll down to the delete. Under this, you can just make sure that if you're not an admin, just go away. Just go away, don't edit. Okay. So take us back to the state index. So we don't need all these other guys. So if the person is not an admin, they will be redirected right back to index. Okay. So I'm just going to copy this and make sure that when I get back to edit page, that is exactly what I have here. If you try to edit and you're not an admin, you just get away. Okay. So the next thing is add. We don't want anybody that is not an admin to add states. So these things I'm changing are just specific to a particular need, so I'll just put it here. You can't even add state, you can't even see the page. Okay, so once you're not an admin, you'll be redirected away. Okay, and of course this is not supposed to be books, this is supposed to be states. So one more time, we're going to do this Control H and say if there's books, just change to states, and that solves our problem.